Oh, do we start? Oh, alright. So, hello. My name is, the names aren't down there, but you guys know me and Michael, Julian and Michael. For our FOA, we are doing code switching, never mind. We're doing code switching and negotiations. And not necessarily just negotiations, but, okay, we just use negotiations as, representative of any sort of conversation. We want to persuade someone, or like have a certain outcome in a conversation. So we're going to investigate how code switching. We're going to use our own definition of code switching, which might be different from other people's, because we'll talk about that later. But we're going to demonstrate how code switching is how you're able to use it in conversations to help move it in a certain direction or have a certain outcome. Okay, so what is code switching? Now, for our definition of code switching, it's the act of switching one's dialect, style, register. So basically, any sort of way that you speak, from word choice to, what dialect you speak. I mean, dialect could mean anything up to your accent, how you pause, your register, even, how you use commas and whatnot in your speech. That's also pauses, but like anything to do with speech. So that's our definition of code switching, just to make sure you guys know which direction we're heading with this. It's different than other definitions where it could be like switching between two languages in order to, like the Ebonics thing, where if you classify Ebonics as a separate language, then if you switch between speaking Ebonics to one group of people and English to another, you're switching between languages. For our intents and purposes, it's where you switch various linguistic devices that you use in your language in order, for any situation. And so this sort of code switching can be conscious and unconscious. We're going to look at the conscious part, where you do it on purpose to have a certain outcome on, any sort of conversation. And
so we talk a lot about this for Connor's FOA, but basically it's just, it doesn't have to be, as Julian said, it doesn't have to be a language switch. It can be a way in which you speak your language.
okay, so I read an article. Well, we both read an article and used it as a source for all of this stuff. So why negotiation, why persuasion, and whatnot. So basically, there's this guy who is in the business world, and he decided to write sort of a rule book on this sort of stuff. And so basically, it's meant for corporate, whatever people. And when they go to meetings and boards and whatever, and they want to talk about mergers, stock trading, and stuff like that, he just wrote this stuff to help people out in negotiations. So now, when you speak in a certain code at the beginning, it sets a certain mode or tone for the rest of the conversation. You can't start off by saying, "Hey, what's up, dog?" to a room full of people. Well, actually, I'm like, if you're in a, say, I don't know, stock meeting or something, you can't really say that because like there's already sort of rules set there, I guess. And when you start speaking, people sort of abide by that rule. So if you start like a very casual conversation, say, how was your weekend? Yeah, that's cool. Or if you say, stock analytics say that 15% would cause great profit margins. So you can set the tone or mood of an entire conversation just by code switching. And that includes certain vocabulary, like, if you have certain words that you use in certain areas or whatnot, like, I know, like, in math you talk about sine waves and cosine waves or whatever. You can use that to set a rule for the conversation. So that's why I'm using conversations.
Also, the main purpose of code switching and negotiations is to either connect with the person you're speaking to or to disconnect. And you do this by changing your tone, your body language, and everything like that to either again, agree or disagree with the person you're talking to.
Oh, alright. So instead of just, whatever, giving you examples, we're going to show you a clip from a movie that is George Clooney, I think, right?
Yeah.
George Clooney. And he's going to persuade someone to do something.
So what's happening in this scene is George Clooney's sister in the movie is getting married, but the husband who's getting married is a bit hesitant. He starts to question why he's getting married. And so George Clooney is there to persuade the guy to get married.
Oh, and we're gonna like have a discussion afterwards. So like, pay attention to the linguistic thingies that you just, yeah, don't worry too much about it. Just pay attention to how Clooney convinces this guy.
So this
Could
is the
we
guy
turn
that-
off both of the lights?
Yeah, turn off the lights.
Here, Michael, come here, play it from back here. Bring your laptop back here.
Keener?
I mean, what is the point?
The point?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
what am I starting here?
Jim, it's marriage. It's one of the most beautiful things on earth. It's what people aspire to.
You never got married.
That's true.
You never even tried.
Well, it's hard to define try.
I don't know, you seem happier than all my married friends.
Look, Jim, I'm not gonna lie to you. Marriage can be a pain in the ass. And you're kind of right. This all is just stuff that leads to your eventual demise.
Yes?
And we're all on running clocks, and they can't be slowed down or paused, and, we all end up in the same place. There's no point.
There is no point. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not normally the guy you would talk to about stuff like this. If you think about it, your favorite memories, the most important moments in your life, were you alone?
No, I guess not.
You come to think of it, last night, the night before your wedding, when all this shit is swirling around in your head, weren't you guys sleeping in separate bedrooms?
Yeah, Julie went back to the apartment. I was just by myself in the honeymoon suite.
Kind of lonely, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty lonely.
Life's better with company.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a co-pilot.
That was a nice touch.
Thanks.
So, what's the mood like out there?
It's not good.
She's pretty pissed.
She's upset.
What should I do?
Go get her.
All right. So, now, guys, what did you notice about George Clooney speaking? So, like, anything about his Felipe?
His sort of his tone, his mood changed when he was alerted by the woman in the window.
Alright. There we go.
he was friendly,
Friendly.
like trying to relate to him, so like relatable.
Alright, so what, actually, did you,
Yeah. I was gonna say that his body language changed. Like he sat down and took off his coat.
body language change?
He's sitting, and you have the chair backwards.
Yeah.
Alright, so how's this? What made him friendly and relatable through his language? Anything specific you guys noticed?
Yeah, Maddie.
With his
Like
language?
when he said, "I'm not gonna lie to you."
Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it was fun. I love Julian's handwriting.
Right, so,
Oh, Felipe, how would you say his tone changed?
Well, at first he was really pessimistic, and then he became more optimistic.
So I guess more empathetic, and then
Yeah, at
Trying to
first he
work
was just agreeing with him and sort of negative thinking, and then he tried to change his point of view for his friend's sake, also because probably was not that harsh of a woman.
Maddie?
The whole terrible thing is that when he was trying to collect his thoughts, I was being like he was like thoughtful and was like would take a deep breath and be like, okay, like how do I want to word this? It's just more, it's more nice. More nice. It's nice if you do that.
Alright, so like the way he paused, would you say? So the way he paused was, you know, made him feel comfortable, would you say that?
It was thoughtful.
Alright, thoughtful. Alright, so how about like his pitch, his register, anything you noticed about that? So like a nice deep voice, like a deep bass voice, would you say?
I wouldn't say all of the bass, but like,
Yeah.
say a deep tenor. Yeah, I like that.
Deep tenor.
He talked at first the way like the other guy talked. And like he like matched his
Yeah, there you go. Match.
that's what I thought of when Felipe mentioned that. At first they sounded like the same person.
Okay.
Sounded like a bro.
Sounded like a bro.
Zooming in on Julian's handwriting here.
Okay.
I don't know how to zoom
Well,
on that.
I'll translate this for you guys if you have questions, hopefully. Maybe you can
The handwriting, though.
anything else if we do it. Anyways,
Julian should be a doctor.
so what we have here is tone changes throughout it. It's a friendly and relatable conversation. Body language changes. I'm not gonna lie to you. Take a deep breath. He pauses. I can't read what I wrote. And then he said he matched his tone. Deep tone. Okay, so we're gonna leave this up there, and then we're gonna come back to this later because there's some later slides that we have to deal with this stuff. And so the next video is we're not gonna show it on the big screen because there in this. All right, who here has watched Pulp Fiction?
Oh.
Okay, so in this scene, this is the say what again scene. So there's a lot of cursing, and like a guy gets shot in the beginning of it. So if you want to see it, you just take out your laptop and type in "say what again" into YouTube.
Oh, I want to watch.
And
If everybody's gonna watch it, then we kind of.
well, no, I feel I don't know. There's like I don't want someone knocking on the door and being like, "Who's saying all that stuff?"
Yes.
On the
We can watch it together.
this is the shorter version. He doesn't actually say the Bible verse in this. So just do say what again. The short version is like 7 million views. It's the first thing you see when there's no blood because it's a really low budget movie. It's just
It's Quentin Tarantino, or a lot of blood.
like there's no budget. You just see him clutch his shoulder or something.
Oh, so it's like really
They shoot him like 100 times.
Yeah, it's like.
Oh, did I break your concentration?
So Alex.
Should I just
I think
keep it on there?
No.
Who did this Firefox? That's the big question.
Finish.
It's right now. Oh, it's
You were saying something about attention. Or need to record.
British.
Why are you talking like this? Well, that's my question. Look right.
Yeah. You're totally stupid. Oh, I hate when they're like.
Oh.
Marcellus Wallace looks like. Sorry about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? Does he look like a bitch? Please. You were saying something about best intention. What's the matter? Oh, you were finished. Oh, well, allow me to retort. What does Marcellus Wallace look like? What? No country I ever heard of. Speak position what? English, motherfucker. Do you speak English? Then you know what I'm saying. Describe what Marcellus Wallace looks like. And what? Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time. He's black. Go on. He's bald. Does he look like a bitch? What?
Okay, so hopefully, are you guys all done watching it, I guess?
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, alright.
Here comes the mom.
Dave might be watching it a second time.
No, what?
Alright,
What is this?
so I guess everyone's ready. Okay, guys, so what did you notice about this movie clip? In terms of, I don't know, you want to like throw stuff out here, like anything you noticed about
Samuel Jackson was very aggressive.
aggressive? Okay, so that's a good tone that he has. What made him aggressive in this scene? Like,
He's trying to get information as to where the whereabouts of Marcellus Wallace's soul is.
I heard that theory. So I heard shouting. So shouting can be something that helps him. I'm sorry. Profanity. That's fun.
A weapon.
Shooting people. Okay, we're looking at we're gonna look at the language, not like the guns in the scene. That definitely helps.
Physical
Kind
language.
of had sarcasm.
Body language.
There we go. Sarcasm. Say it again. Or how about allow me to retort?
Yeah.
Okay.
Call me out.
So what else did you learn? What else did you see in his language that it's heard? How about register or pacing? Did you guys notice anything there about that helped him? You know.
What was body language was really like.
Yeah, I mean putting a gun to someone. Okay. That
He was
fun.
talking fast.
Talking fast.
He was like asking questions really fast, would make somebody nervous.
Okay, very fast succession of questions, right?
But he
Okay.
also said each word, like,
Each word enunciates each word.
He would like change his. Like he would be like, tell me like.
Yeah.
What's that called?
I guess punch.
Demanding.
Yeah.
Or it's like
Inflection,
volume.
inflection, or yeah, inflection. I think that's volume, right? All right. How about the?
Volume's like-
Yeah, like he changed it. How about in comparison to the other guy? What was the other guy like? His talking.
No, started out as he was like very controlled. He was trying to like handle it in a very like business like way.
Okay, so
before Samuel.
okay. All right, so the other guy was controlled. How about after Samuel starts shouting at him and like after he shot the guy?
he was very nervous and his voice was shaky.
Shaky voice.
He lost just about all the composition.
Yeah, lost composition. How about his pitch, tone?
High.
Very high. Okay. So the guy. Yeah. Anyways, so what we have so far is Samuel Jackson, incredibly aggressive. Overall tone of that. There's a lot of shouting, a lot of profanity, sarcasm, I guess. Tense, quick questions, and volume. All right. So did anyone get questions for that? I mean, not questions, but like, did you hear any questions that Samuel said in the scene? Anyone?
Country
What,
from.
What does
what
the
language do they speak in?
Speak English or what?
Speak English? Okay, so in the previous clip, they also used questions, didn't they? So what's the difference between those two, I guess? Like, in the way they were posed, I guess, or
The first one was to make him think. The second one in this video is just a
alright.
They're both rhetorical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. So what's the difference between rhetorical question, the rhetorical questions you, because Samuel uses rhetorical and like non-rhetorical questions. He says like, do they speak English and what? That's rhetorical, right? And he says, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? That's not rhetorical. He expects an answer from him. So what do you think the difference between those two questions are? Is.
What country are you from?
Yeah.
He asked a bunch of questions that were unimportant.
So the questions weren't important, but it's the way he phrased it, right?
No, but like he started with unimportant questions just to scare everybody, and then asked the important question.
Okay. All right.
I guess one one's like, when he says the more sarcastic ones, like, what you want, or like, it's more of an intimidation, or even to make people stupid, than to give an answer.
All right.
And then the other one's to actually answer.
Okay. All right then. So, the reason that we showed you these two clips was because they reflect two of like the many sort of styles and persuasion and negotiations people use. Oh yeah.
So first of all, do you guys agree that each tactic was successful, or at least worked?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
If it works to this.
So that's kind of what we were.
Well, wait, can
trying to get
I play devil's advocate or like
Yeah.
play the dummy? What was Samuel L. Jackson's goal, like in talking to that guy?
He didn't actually. It wasn't to get information. I'm pretty sure it's just to.
As to where the contents were.
Actually, there's partly that, and I think partly it was. You know what?
Oh, I know what it was. The guy, Brett, knew what Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta were here to collect. So he's trying to explain why things got so screwed up between himself and Mr. Wallace, and then he just shoots the guy on the couch, and then the whole scene starts.
But he's yelling at this guy and saying like, what does he look like? Because as you said, that's a non-rhetorical question, so he literally wants to know what Marcellus Wallace looks like, or he's not really interested in
I think it's more of making a point.
Okay.
And he actually wants the question answered, like what does Marcellus Wallace look like?
Okay.
He wants it answered to make a point at him. It's more the goal of he wants to push the conversation to the direction of making a point. He doesn't care if he finds the suitcase from him. He knows there's a guy in the corner that can tell him where the suitcase is at any time. Anyways, he just kills him at the end anyway. So he knows that in the end it'll just be making a point at him. It doesn't matter
Okay.
The questions and whatnot.
Got it.
So, anyways,
Yeah. So from the article we read, these were the two tactics that the article talked about to make a persuasion or to
like push a conversation
Yeah.
a certain way. The George Clooney one is, I think it's called matching codes. So we'll go into this. This one's just called matching codes. This is contrasting codes, and we'll explain them in later slides. Which is the next one? Discussion. Oh yeah, we just did that before. All right, contrasting code. All right, so you guys know which one is contrasting, right? What will you guess? There we go. Pulp Fiction. So, Pulp Fiction we chose for the contrasting codes. Now, when you contrast someone's code, basically what you're doing is you're going to dominate the entire conversation because it's more of a one-way street rather than negotiation. In negotiations. Because basically what you do is you just contrast everything the guy does. So if he's speaking quietly, you just shout at him. If he's not using too much profanity, you just do what Samuel L. Jackson did. So basically you can look at the entire thing right there, and you just remember the guy was speaking at a low volume, high pitch. Samuel L. Jackson just shouts at him, loud voice, and remember the quiet guy at the beginning spoke sort of evenly, even register, I guess, and an even pace, I guess. Samuel L. Jackson just assaults him with questions, he doesn't give him time to like give him a direct response. He just goes really fast doing it. And so by doing this, he was able to push the conversation in the direction he wanted to, by just absolutely dominating him and not letting him get a chance to do anything. It's one of the ways to move a conversation, as you saw. Pulp Fiction, it worked. So, yeah.
So Samuel L. Jackson was clearly trying to distinguish his purpose from what the guy who was trying to get information from. So I think through his different code, through his code you could see that he had a different purpose from the guy he was trying to get information from.
Oh, remember the thing we said in the beginning, like the connection between someone?
Yeah.
Like, how would you say it? Yeah.
So he was trying to disconnect from the person he was talking to.
But then connect with.
Yep.
Oh no, I guess I'm sorry. Rather than connect with a complementary code. So that's the George Clooney scene, the complementary code. So basically, in the complementary code, what he did was he matched his register, he matched his tone of voice, he matched, basically as much as he could to make the person identify with him, I guess. You saw,
Yeah, as we saw in the clip, at first he talked like the guy who didn't want to get married. He said, hey, like I empathize with you, there's no meaning in life, right? But as soon as the lady gives George Clooney a look, he quickly changed it to more of a friendly tone to try to persuade. But I think through the original code that was complementary, it helped empathize with the hesitant husband.
Okay.
I have a question. So, like, what if someone were to start yelling at you, and then you started yelling at them back, and that becomes memory?
Yeah, it would. You could be like, yeah, it actually could. Like, you could just like walk into a meeting, slam down something, and say, "I'm angry," and someone else slams down something, and they're like, "I'm angry too," and you start yelling, and you're like, "Yeah, we're both angry," something like that. See, it could work. Like, because you identify with the guy, right? He's angry, you're angry too. You've got something in common. So complementary should work. It's not really a science. You can't measure how many complementaries you are with someone. But
Very subtle.
yeah, it's a learned practice. You just have to get a feel for it. You have to. You forgot. Sorry, word choice. That's a big one too for both of them. So, profanity, that's something you have to look into too. Profanity was used in both of them, right? George Clooney, Pulp Fiction. What's the difference between the profanity used in each?
In the first one, the profanity is meant to directed at an outside source, and while in Pulp Fiction, it's directed not only at an outside source, but also at the person himself.
Yeah, definitely.
There we go. And he also shouted the profanity in Pulp Fiction. George Clooney, they sort of agreed on the thing directed for something else. So that's also part of vocabulary, if you choose a vocabulary, basically both parties usually stick to it, right? You don't usually just change up the words you use in the middle of a conversation. It's sort of like this. You can actually see a change in vocabulary in contrasting codes in Pulp Fiction, where it's sort of casual, well, not really casual, but like, remember after Samuel L. Jackson shoots the guy, he says, "Well, allow me to retort." Usually people don't say that, right? It's retort. Who knows what that word? Well, I mean, you should know what that means. But it's a more complicated word than usual. Like, by using that higher level of vocabulary, yeah, he just messed with the guy.
The register didn't match the situation.
Didn't match that situation. By doing that, he's just being sarcastic, superior. He just out of whack with the other guy's thing. So he's like, "Oh, what's going on now?" So there we go. Enable certain codes. These codes, are a set of registers, vocabulary, tone, all that combined, smushed together, make it, and you get this. So this is what we found from the article. So this is the business code, where long sentence, moderate volume, serious low pitch, slow pace, and complex sentences. All that together, you have a business meeting, there's stuff being sold, and, that's how it should look like.
Yeah, so this definitely relates to Davis's FOA, how in the business world, obviously you're not going to act like you would with your friends in short sentences and with your friends, trying to have fun, obviously. You don't want long lectures, and you want to keep it to the point, just as you would in like a text conversation, as opposed to a long Facebook post.
I guess that's about it, I guess.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Oh,
Pitch, we
pitch.
talked about
Oh,
this.
yeah, we talked about. This is just a little quick review. Pitch, dealing with mood, whatever. I guess next. Word choice. We talked about that. I guess we were supposed to
I think the
we were
discussion-
supposed to do it while we were. Never mind. Don't worry about it. You're just supposed to see. We're just going through this quickly, just because we discussed it previously. Back to word choice.
Pauses. You saw George Clooney's pauses.
Oh, Samuel L. Jackson's pause. What was it? Oh, never mind. Usually he paused for effect.
He did.
He did a sarcastic pause, right? No, not sarcastic pause. Yeah.
Cosmo was like, "Are you serious right now?"
Yeah, so both of them paused in their conversations. Remember, George? Right there, Madeline. I remember this.
Use it to make.
Remember what we said? When we said he paused, when he paused, Samuel Jackson paused as well. So what's the difference between their pauses?
Sam Dye was being sarcastic and George was being sympathetic.
Yeah, there you go. Just in the context of each conversation, the pause can mean different things. Pacing also, we went over, basically, if you just speed up the conversation from the pace that it starts at, you could basically put pressure on the other person, like Samuel did with the other guy, just not giving them a chance to answer questions, just making it go so fast. George Clooney, on the other hand, remember, he and the other guy just speak. They just go slowly, talk, listen, nod, pause not just for effect, but pause to show, yeah, I listen, so like that pause. Okay. Moving on.
Okay.
Oh, these are just questions to
So
ponder.
do any of you, I guess, use these techniques? Just think about it. You might use it subconsciously when you're talking with different people.
Because we're just breaking it down into its parts. You just use it all the time usually, I guess. Anyone want to give a real life example of? There we go.
Okay, I know when I was younger, when me and my sister were getting in a fight, she's very passive, almost good child. And so for the contrasting one, I guess I would kind of raise my voice to be like, hey, from the little sister, so be like, hey, I'm bigger than you. Definitely. So
There you go. That's fun. Anyone else? Any real life situations?
I don't curse with adults as I do with my compadres.
There we
Although
go.
I am.
Linguistic features. Okay, do you guys think there's any linguistic features that we missed? So that you would like to add, not miss, but would like to add that helps push the conversation? Anyone? Anything? No?
I feel like pauses or silence in general can be used both to create tension and also just to make things more comfortable, just depending on how it's used. So
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so I guess that's about it. Thank you for